Welcome back to Press Review In Depth. News from Iraq is saying that Mosul's 1,600-year-old Christian community has been expelled in what they are calling an unprecedented exodus. This follows a move by the Islamic State, currently ruling the city, that gave local Christians the option to convert to Islam, pay a tax, leave, or be killed if they stayed. Reports from Raqqa in Syria indicate a similar situation. Let's see what the press is saying. William Dalrymple writes for The Guardian about beleaguered minorities in a Middle East of intolerant ideologies. He writes, in Egypt, revolution and counter-revolution have been accompanied by a series of anti-Copt riots, killings and church burnings. In Gaza and the West Bank, Palestinian Christians are emigrating en masse as they find themselves uncomfortably caught between Netanyahu's pro-settler government and their increasingly radicalised Sunni neighbours. He adds that the ISIS decree that Christians convert or pay a religious tax of jizya led to possibly the largest exodus of Middle Eastern Christians since the Armenian massacres during the First World War, with the entire Christian community of Mosul heading off towards Kirkuk and the relative religious tolerance of the Kurdish zone. Two-thirds of Iraqi Christians have fled since the fall of Saddam. Dalrymple says although Iraq's 750,000 Christians made up only 7% of the pre-war population, they were a prosperous minority under the Baathists, as symbolised by the high profile of Tariq Aziz, Saddam's foreign minister, who used to disarm visiting foreign dignitaries by breaking into onward Christian soldiers in Aramaic, the language of Jesus. Dalrymple quotes Lebanese historian Kamal Salibi saying, "Each time a Christian goes, no other Christian comes to fill his place, and this is a very bad thing for the Arab world. It's Christian Arabs who keep the Arab world Arab rather than Muslim." The author adds, certainly since the 19th century, Christian Arabs have played a vital role in defining a secular Arab cultural identity. It's no coincidence that most of the founders of secular Arab nationalism were men like Michel Aflaq, the Greek Orthodox Christian from Damascus, who, with other Syrian students freshly returned from the Sorbonne, founded the Ba'ath Party in the 1940s. And the New York Times features an article about the ISIS takeover of Raqqa, Syria. The article says the Islamic State has won the surprising respect of some war-weary citizens who will accept any authority that can restore a semblance of normal life. Rebel-held areas of Aleppo, by comparison, remain racked with food shortages and crime. The article adds public places like Al-Masri Square, where young men and women once hung out and flirted in the evenings, have been walled off with heavy metal fences topped with the black flags of ISIS. People accused of stealing have lost their hands in public amputations, and the former office of the Finance Ministry contains the Sharia court and the criminal police. The article adds Raqqa's 3 churches, once home to an active Christian minority, have all been shuttered. After capturing the largest, the Armenian Catholic Martyrs Church, ISIS removed its crosses, hung black flags from its facade and converted it into an Islamic centre that screens videos of battles and suicide operations to recruit new fighters. Despite this, ISIS has managed to keep food in markets and bakeries and gas stations functioning. But it has had more trouble with drinking water and electricity, which is out for as much as 20 hours a day. Well, now we're joined by David Virgili, journalist and member of the European Syriac Union. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for as well.
William Dalrymple wrote in his Guardian article that the end of Christianity in the Middle East could mean the demise of Arab secularism, in the sense that Christian Arabs have kept the Arab world Arab rather than Muslim. What do you think of this comment? Is it apt?
I think I can agree with the article, because looking in the history of Middle East civilization, we can clearly see the contribution of Christians with the Middle East civilization, and more broadly in the Mesopotamian civilization, from politics to social, economic, cultural, and to even medicine fields. Christian people have contributed to the civilization of Middle East greatly. This will be very very negative aspect if Christians will be out of the Middle East. That will be also a problem for Middle East civilizations, for the Muslim world, and of course big tragedy for Christian world.
And we've heard a lot lately about Christian communities in Mosul in Iraq and Raqqa in Syria being subject to the religious tax or jizya. How bad have things got for this minority and other minority communities, and could they get worse? Could we see a total exodus of Christians and other minorities from the whole region?
Actually, for the moment, we are speaking about Christians in Mosul and more in Iraq. But before that, we know that the same process was in place for Christians in Syria, especially in the Raqqa. From different sources, I can say that there are no more Christians in Raqqa, even maybe some converted people, but this number are very, very small numbers. Today we cannot speak anymore about Christians in Raqqa because of the hard conditions and ultimatum put by ISIS in the city. And for the moment we are speaking about Christians in Mosul, and as you know from different sources also, and from the Patriarch of Chaldean Church, from the Patriarch of Syria Catholic Church, we know that there are no more Christians as well in Mosul, because the conditions that had been put in place by ISIS were very difficult to be accepted, neither by Christians and other minorities as well. That will be a point of discussion in next month and years to see the future of Christians. But for the moment, as I said, there are no more Christians in Mosul, but the danger is in place because the majority of Christians in Iraq live near the city of Mosul, which we are calling the Nineveh Plain. It's a historical land of Christians with different denominations, church, and villages with Christian people.
And the words genocide and ethnic cleansing have been used by some people to describe what's happening. Do Christians see it in this way, do you think?
I think there is a danger of total destruction of Christian people in Iraq and more broadly in Middle East. Since 2 decades, Christian minorities and people face great problems. And I mean, the words, they came from UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and later on UN Security Council made the same statement that these crimes goes under the crimes against humanity. I mean, it's clear that these are words that we are using to describe the situation, because the situation is catastrophic for Christians, and even Christians in Iraq think that their end is near, because there is no protection from either side. For example, in Iraq, there is no central government who is protecting these minorities, and neither international community willing to take necessary steps to maintain the presence of these minorities in Iraq.
Yes, and that leads to my next question. Do you think that the West should be stepping in and doing more now, more than ever?
I think West and international community have to move on and take some necessary steps, because although there is a humanitarian crisis, we have to accept also that there is a political deadlock in Iraq, and minorities, especially minorities, are not represented in the present political atmosphere. So, and today there was a demonstrations in Iraq by Christian Chaldean Syriac people to demand the international protection under UN supervision to be present in Iraq and protect them from ISIS and other radical groups.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, David.
Thank you. You are welcome.
That was David Virgili, journalist and member and spokesman of the European Syriac Union. And for more updates, please visit levant.tv. And subscribe to MidEast In Depth on iTunes. for watching. Bye for now.